you kind of felt like you're on vacation.
Yeah.
And my wife and I said the same thing. Like, we just felt like we were camping
Mm-hmm.
for like a year, getting the house kind of like in order, redoing stuff. I don't think it was until I started jujitsu, restarted jujitsu here and started meeting people and like building that community where I was like, oh, okay, this is where I'm at now. And like, this feels good. Because before that, I was like, work, come home, work, talk to my wife for a little bit. Hey, we're camping still.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably like a year and a half ago, it was like, this feels like our home now. Roots were planted. Took a little bit for them to grow, but here we are in. Okay, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm a quick learner.
Yeah. It's easy, dude.
Yeah,
It's easy peasy.
not lemon squeezy.
When we were at the tournament, like 2 weeks ago or whatever, it was when you were up on, I can't remember if it was when you were up on the podium or it was your first roll. I looked over at Scarlett and I was like, how do you, I had no idea what your last name was. It was the funniest thing in the whole world.
It's funny that you say that because everyone always asks me that. It's Blanton.
Blanton?
And I, especially living out here in the South, Blanton's bourbon is such a big thing. So you would assume that.
Oh, I didn't even know that there was a
Really?
bourbon behind it. Yeah, yeah.
So it's the bourbon that has the little horse figure on the top and it comes in the round bottle. It used to be a pretty decent bottle to get. And then John Wick movies, he started having it in the movies.
Was that his bourbon in the movies?
Yeah. It was his like drink of choice. And the next thing you know, the bottles were like $120, $130. And I was like, well, so much for me having like a bottle of that at the house all the time. Now it's like a rare occasion.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, Blanton. So I don't know if there's any connection. I've never dug into it. My dad says we have family up in Kentucky, but
You think it might be connected? That'd be cool.
it would be cool. I mean,
is it one of those like old school bourbons that's been around forever?
Yeah. So I'm not 100% sure, but 99.9% sure that Buffalo Trace is the distillery where it's made.
Oh, nice.
And Buffalo Trace, as I'm sure
right.
you're aware,
Anybody that listens to
Joe Rogan, it's the oldest distillery in America. It's older than America.
Right.
So yeah,
that's what they were drinking when they signed the Constitution.
Yeah, exactly. So, I guess it's
could be around for a while.
could be there for a while. So
well, Michael Blanton,
yep,
on the podcast today. I'm very excited, dude. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's my my first time on the podcast.
Right.
So
Popped your podcast cherry.
Yeah,
That sounds terrible. I don't know why I said that.
it's okay.
As soon as it came into my head, I was like, don't say it. And then it came out.
What's funny is I messaged you, and then like 2 days later, I messaged someone else who does like a beer and brewing podcast. More like industry personnel focused rather than just like general public focused. But I was like, hey man, if you're looking for a guest, like I'll do it. I was just like, it's not a problem, but it's like once I want to start something, it's like I just snowball myself like deep into it.
Yeah, yeah, dude.
So we'll see what this takes, where this takes me.
They're fun.
Yeah.
I freaking love doing them. Like we started way back in 2016 and it was a kind of thing where it just started happening out of nowhere. I had a buddy of mine that was trying to get one off the ground and start, and he came over to my house and just set down a recorder in the center of the table and we just sat and chatted for like an hour. And after we got done with it, I was just like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. And Steph was like, you need to do that. That's what you should do. And I was like, And then it was like, I think like less than a month later, I had all the equipment. I had gone down the rabbit hole of like trying to figure out how to do it all and how to, record, edit, upload, the whole 9 yards of what it takes. And then I went out and I just like started recording. I think in the first month I released something like 10 episodes or something like that. I can't remember. It was insane. I was just recording all the time and editing all the time. It was a ton of work. Back then it was just audio though, which was really nice.
Okay. I noticed
those
now
days.
on Spotify, there's video.
Yeah.
I remember when you first started this, I was like, oh man, I was looking forward to like seeing you and Ben talk. And then the first episode I was like, oh man, I don't get to see you.
Yeah.
But now you got video.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah. We had to figure out is that Spotify thing where you're able to upload video and stuff like that. It took me a minute to navigate that process. And they were rolling that out to like, I think that was something that they rolled out last year because it wasn't available to like the wide range of podcasts. It was only available to a handful of like the select higher,
Like, do you have to hit a certain amount of like
Well, it wasn't even
followers
that. It was like when Spotify got into the podcasting game, they just didn't have video.
Gotcha.
Because they were just an, music-based platform. And then with podcasting, they had to build all of that out.
They do pretty well.
I do. Yeah.
There was speaking about Spotify, last week, I'm at work and I listen to music all the time in the brewery. And for some reason, my Spotify was not working.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, like, you know, you go on Twitter, it's like, is Spotify down? And it was down for like 8 hours.
Really?
I couldn't listen to music in the brewery. It was a struggle that day. And I was like, wow, I really listened to a lot of just music and podcasts and everything, and without it.
Yeah.
But it goes to show, like, a company that big to only go down once, at least for an extended period of time, was like, it's impressive.
It's always like as soon as something like that happens, it's always like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like there's always like conspiracy about, at least for me, I'm always like, okay, something's going on.
Yeah.
This isn't good.
Yeah. Uh-oh, who's the whistleblower? You know, something.
I know it seems like all these big corporations, all these big media companies and social media companies, it feels like they have sinister undertones, like it's all Dr. Evil in the background running everything.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the case, but
I don't either. You know, I will say, like, I used to kind of be more not involved, believing in that type of stuff. And then I was like, you kind of look around the world and you see like the normal everyday person and you're like, no offense, you're not that intelligent. And then you look at these corporations and you're like, they're not that smart. Like
No.
they just can't do it. You're not that intelligent. Like they can't pull it off. They're just like everyday other folks. So that's my theory now. So now I'm just like, I guess that's a conspiracy theory in itself where they're too stupid to do anything.
Yeah, I've seen behind the curtain a little bit, not with like Spotify or social media or anything like that, but just big tech and big organizations and companies and stuff like that. And you always think that they like have their together. And then when you like get into it and you start looking and you realize, and it's just like everybody's running around. Nobody knows what they're doing. Yeah. There's always like 3 guys that actually take care of everything. And then.
Yeah. Well, it's like Hollywood almost. You know, you go on a production set and there's 10,000 people for a big movie. And it's like, do you really need all these people? It's like your only job is to relay information.
Yeah.
And it's like the game of telephone in school where we know how that plays out. By the time it gets to the person it's supposed to get to, it's completely different. Just disorganized. And
back when I was a cop, they filmed a movie out where I was a police officer back in Utah. It was Twila City, and this movie, God, I think they changed the title. I can't remember if it was like Bullet in the Head or it wasn't a great movie, but it had John Leguizamo was in it. This main guy that I love. He was in Deadwood, and he's been in the Pirates. He's in John Wick. He's the owner of the hotel in John Wick. I can't think of that guy's name for.
I knew this day would come, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm horrible with names.
Are you?
Like music, movies, the names, the actors specifically, and I'm just like, I don't know who that is, but I can tell you all the movies they've been in.
Right.
And like songs, I'm like, oh, I'll sing all the songs.
Oh my God, I can't believe I can't get it. It's going to come to me.
I heard you and Rob talking about movies, and I was like, oh man, I hope he doesn't get on me on movies. I was like, I don't know actors.
But that was like my first moment, or like not even my first time. I think that's the only time that I've like technically been on a movie set.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because they were filming on location. And so it was like they had, you know, an area set up where they had like craft services and all the trailers and everything like that. And so everybody would be kind of like hanging out there, and then they would, you know, have this spot over here where they were filming. And because we were there just doing security. It was like an overtime gig where you just show up and basically hang out. And it was so silly. Like it was so asinine to me to see, like you said, how many people are there, the entire process that takes place, the whole 9 yards of all of this stuff. Like we sat and watched them set up this scene they had a car that wasn't like an operating car. It wasn't a car that drove. They had to like tow it there, push it there, but then it like had special effects. So it would like smoke and everything. And then they get it all set and prepped and get all the cameras set and everything like that. And then Patrick Wilson was the actor who was the main lead in it. And he was in all of those Conjuring movies.
Okay.
He was the male lead in all of those movies.
Yeah. They're apparently coming out with another one.
Are they?
Of those. And
those are good scary movies.
Yeah. Apparently they've said this one's like
the
scariest one. You know, it'll be the scariest film of 2025. But yeah, I mean, back in LA, I did COVID testing during the pandemic for TV shows and stuff like that. So it was the same thing. You get there early. Thankfully, I was paid by the hour. But you're waiting there for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And you're like,
it's a lot of sitting around and doing nothing.
Yeah. But at least most of the time, at least high production sets, they have like the craft, like catering. You
so
get free
good.
snacks and water. Dude. And I was like, and as being the COVID tester guy, I just like, hey, bring me something. Just bring me anything I wanted. I felt like I was the VIP there.
Was that when you were a medic?
Yeah. Yes.
Tell me about that, man. How long did you do that for?
Started in 2013 is when I got my license. And then I went until 2021. So 9 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it, because I know that there's like different levels of, it's like anything else where there's, paramedic and all these kind of different breakdowns.
So there's like EMT, EMT advanced, not really used out on the West Coast too much, except in like rural areas. Then you have paramedic. So I was an EMT and I was going to nursing school.
Okay.
So I did like 4 years on an ambulance, like wee woo, just really boring stuff, actually. Like I say wee woo, I didn't really get to go wee woo that many times.
Yeah.
Mostly like discharges from hospitals to like nursing homes. Sometimes we had like 911 calls though that we got to run, and then decided to move into an ER. So I was an ER tech for a little bit, small community hospital for 2 years. And then I got another job, same ER tech, but at a level 1 trauma center. So Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles. I worked there for 2 years.
What's an ER tech?
So, I mean, I do everything basically. So depending on where you're stationed, like you're pulling people out of cars if they come in. So like pulled gunshot wounds out, people just passed out unconscious of cars, bringing them back, running EKG, setting up stuff for, whatever the doctor might need. Just kind of the assistant for the doctors and nursing staff. So that was pretty fun, especially being at a level 1 trauma center. I mean, we got gunshots, stabbings, everything from, it's a lot, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, got married and I was like, I don't know if I want to live this life at 10,000 RPM.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, like, because it sounds like that was the trajectory and the path, right?
Yeah.
And was it really getting married that changed it?
Yeah, yes and no. I wanted to have a family and like just, I don't know, man. Being in it for so long, like just getting kind of burnt out that quick. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And like,
it's a hard fucking job, dude.
Yeah.
Like first responder, anything in the field there, anything where you're working directly with the public, but not even just like, because a lot of customer-based jobs obviously are working with the public, but like ER is, I remember, because I mean, I never worked in one, but we were in the ER quite frequently as police officers because, whether we were bringing people in or they would call us down, or if there was any sort of like, you would arrest somebody and, the jail wouldn't accept them because of whatever.
Yeah.
So we'd have to go and take them to the ER. And then the same thing, like if there was ever any criminal activity that, involved gunshot, stab wounds or something like that, then we're obviously there in the ER. And so I spent a lot of time there.
I'm sure you had a lot of the, you arrest someone and then it's like, oh, my chest hurts.
My favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite was, God, I can't remember if we told this on,
incarceritis is what we used to call it.
Incarceritis.
Yeah, you're getting incarcerated and incarceritis. So take you to the ER and they think they're getting out of it. And it's like, nope, doctors are pretty keen on that type of stuff. And it's like, all right, run an EKG, you're fine.
There was this woman that we would arrest all the time. She was a pretty regular, we dealt with her on a pretty regular basis. And she got to the point where her solution was faking a seizure. And so we were in Walmart, like she had a warrant, somebody saw her, we go to Walmart, we find her, and we start trying to arrest her. And she's like, I'm having a seizure. And then she like falls down and sits there and shakes and verbally is like yelling, I'm having a seizure. Like, you're not having a seizure. I'm having a seizure.
Yeah.
So that was her go-to to get out of it.
I have something similarly as crazy. So we had this lady, same thing, just seizures. And she was just at like a little local hospital. They didn't know what was going on. So they're like, all right, we need to get you to like a hospital that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they called us and we took her and like same thing in the middle of a ride. She's just like, I'm having a seizure. Crazy thing was her husband was riding with us, like just to transport. And I ended up going back to that hospital like a week later and ran into the nurse that like I'd given a report to. And it turns out that she was faking seizures. So she had just had a baby. And she was faking seizures because the husband was giving attention to the baby and not enough to her.
Oh, wow.
So she would fake seizures to like, for the husband to be like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a lot, dude. That's, the human mind and what it does to get validation is...
Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
But I'm sure you have way more stories. We could spend 6 hours here going back and forth between ER and PD stories. So
were you born and raised in California?
Born, yes. Raised semi.
Okay.
So I was born in Mountain View, so like just south of the San Francisco. My dad was in the Navy. Then moved down to San Diego. Parents got divorced.
How old were you when they got divorced?
2 or 3.
Oh, okay.
I don't really remember it. I don't remember my parents ever being together.
Okay.
But they maintained a good relationship, like a friendly relationship.
Yeah, they were amicable.
Yeah. Both remarried after a couple years, and my mom moved out to Virginia where she met my stepdad, Pete, and, great guy. So I would fly back and forth, and then grew up a couple years in Virginia, and then moved back with my dad during like middle school or elementary school. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Till about junior year, and then got kicked out of the house, moved down to my mom, who had moved to Los Angeles. So that's how I ended up in LA for the 10 years, and then out here to Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I've been all over, it's been fun.
When you were a junior, you got kicked out. What happened there?
I hit a kid in school.
You hit a kid?
Yeah. So when I moved down to my mom's, my mom was like, you're not going to LA Unified School District, public school. You're just not. And I was like, why? How bad can it be?
Yeah.
I'm not a small man. I can handle myself. And she's like, no, we're going to put you in a private Catholic school. And I was like, all right, I'm telling you no, but it's your money. Do what you want to do with it. And, about a year later, I hit a kid. He was just talking a lot of shit. And I didn't punch him. I just slapped him.
Yeah.
And they kicked me out. So I had to go to a continuation school. And that was wild.
Yeah.
Because I go there and professor's like, what are you doing here? I was like, I don't know. I'm here to get my diploma and get my work and finish this off. He's like, what did you do? I said, I just hit a kid. He goes, well, you don't belong here. He's like, these other kids are here it's 15-year-old girls with kids, and dudes who are stabbing other kids at school.
Yeah.
So he's like, just take your work, go home, bring it back on Friday. And I was like, all right, this is cool. So it went from my mom being really upset, and I graduated early. And I got an actual diploma, not like a GED.
Yeah, yeah.
So even though nowadays I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, I don't think any of that stuff really matters. Once you're out of high school, none of that stuff matters anymore.
Yeah. Don't listen to them kids. That whole do great in high school, it matters. No one checks. No one checks. And now people just fake their diplomas.
Yeah.
And stuff like that and get these nice jobs. So it's who cares?
I think the whole education system is, long overdue for a complete overhaul. 100%. Okay, let's start from the ground up and readdress everything, because it's a system that is designed and set up in such a way that it doesn't actually educate people. That's a whole other topic too. We don't need to go off on the whole education system. It's a joke, dude. What was the big impetus for you guys coming out here to Tennessee?
So my wife's grandfather lived out here.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a house. And we just wanted to like I said, start a family, and raising a kid in Los Angeles was not something that we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So we just said, you know what, just move out there. And I'd never been to Tennessee before. And my wife was like, are you sure you want to do this? And I was like, you know me now, babe. What part of you thinks I would not like Tennessee? And then, just drove out here. Took us 3 days.
You did it in 3 days?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
How long did it take you?
It took us 5 days.
What?
Yeah, but we had, it was a little bit different situation. We had 2 vehicles, so we were kind of caravanning.
Yeah.
And, it's just the 2 of you guys in 1 vehicle, I'm assuming.
And my wife doesn't have a driver's license.
Okay.
So I had to drive the whole way.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's another reason I was like, I'm getting this done. And we had our 2 cats with us.
Okay.
So it was I just want to get there.
Dude, that's that's 12 hours, 8, 10, 12 hours every day.
First stop was Los Angeles to Albuquerque, which Albuquerque sucks, dude.
Wow.
And then Albuquerque to, not Little Rock, Fort Smith, Arkansas. It's like right on the border or something like that. And then, the third day was Arkansas to Tennessee.
Was there stuff about LA? I mean, you say, like, how long have you guys been married?
Going on 3 years. So in May is our third anniversary.
But how long have you been together?
About 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then did you guys know immediately? I shouldn't say immediately, but like, when did you know that you wanted to have a family, wanted to start having kids and stuff? Was it pretty early on?
Not early on, actually. We had a very, relationship different than everybody else's.
Okay.
Like, we met at a bar, first of all, which in this day and age, everything's online, electronic. We met old-fashioned, old school in a bar. And we spent a lot of nights, excuse me, just being in our 20s. We would sit in her kitchen and just 2 bottles of wine, just talking. And me and my wife are completely polar opposites, politically speaking.
Okay.
Now neither of us really care. We just kind of say it is what it is. So big disagreements, but I've never had that with anybody else where it's I have just a disagreement with someone, but just continue to talk to them respectfully and have a good conversation with them.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, most of the women I dated were kind of stupid, and it's talking to a wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness. After being with them for an hour, I'm just I need to go. This is painful to be around you. My wife was not that way. I mean, it was just always fun to be around her, always good conversations. So yeah, and we just started dating and then decided to get married after 3 years and then moved out here. We did it all pretty quick.
Okay.
We got married and got married in May and we moved out here in July.
Really?
Yeah. So we just peace.
What year did you guys move out here? I feel like it was
same as you.
Was it the same year? Or
We've been here 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So 3 years in July.
Okay. That's soon, dude. That's 2
shit.
months or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's actually the day my daughter was born.
Really?
Yeah. July 27th.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever realized that until now, but that's kind of crazy.
That's cool.
Yeah. Because I have a post on my Instagram where it's me and my wife by our old mailbox, right at the front.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was posted July 27th. Huh.
That's neat.
Crazy. Yeah. So, and she's about to be 2.
That's awesome, dude.
That's even crazier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to get into what it's like for you as a father and everything like that. But was there stuff about California? Because I know during the pandemic, we all sat and watched California kind of fall apart and then consistently fall apart over and over and over again until it's just been the shit show that it is, right?
Yeah.
I used to travel to California a lot for work.
Okay.
And, it was, it's like anything else where we see stuff online, we see stuff on the news, we see stuff on media, and it's never really that extreme or that bad. But there's always those little pockets where it kind of is. I remember I was in California once, and I don't even remember where it was. It had to have been around the LA area. And it was at Home Depot, and not the frontage road, but the road behind Home Depot was just packed full of tents and the homeless people and everything like that. And it's, same thing down in San Francisco. I mean, San Francisco is a completely other kind of beast unto itself. But
they have an app at San Francisco where you could, the poop map.
Yeah.
And it's legit.
Yeah, yeah.
And my wife had to go up there for work one time for a conference or something. And I decided to fly up, just spend the weekend. It's I walk out of the hotel. I was like, oh, it smells like shit.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, there's shit right there. And I was like, dude, this is gross, bro. Can we go? I don't want to deal with this. But LA's not too far behind it. I mean,
yeah,
tent fires all the time. Plenty of times driving on the on-ramp and there's just some dude sitting there just smoking crack. It's right next to a school.
Yeah.
And it's dude, what the hell? I've dealt with overdoses right across from an element, a preschool, dude. And it's listen, I understand the compassion and wanting to help these people, but there also has to be you got to draw some hard boundaries and be this can't be acceptable. You can't normalize it.
Was all that kind of stuff a big factor for you guys? When you think about, because did she grow up out there too, or?
No, my wife is from Florida.
Okay.
Went to school in Georgia. So she's been out here been in the South for a long time and then moved out to California. I don't know for how long. Her brother lives out there. He moved out there once he graduated and she was like, I want to go move out there with my brother. So
yeah.
Then brought her back.
Yeah. What do you feel like? Because it's a completely different. I mean, the difference between Tennessee and California is pretty vast.
Pretty stark, yeah.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it right off the bat? Or did it take you a bit? Like it took me a bit. It took us like a year, I think, to not just feel good here, feel comfortable here, kind of feel accustomed to everything here, and kind of, I don't know if ingratiate's the right word, but just kind of like feel at home here.
Yeah.
But that was a big part of that process for us, involved because we still had all of our daughters that were still in Utah. All of our, they were adults and living their life and doing their thing. So that was just like, it was more of like coming out of the emotional hole of depression and sadness. Because Steph and I had lived our entire lives in Utah.
Yeah.
And so we had never
change.
Yeah. Real big change for that. But what was it like for you?
Probably first getting here was obviously difficult. I mean, it's a new place. You don't know anyone, but kind of, I think you touched on this last episode, was like, you kind of felt like you're on vacation.
Yeah.
And my wife and I said the same thing. Like, we just felt like we were camping for like a year, getting the house kind of like in order, redoing stuff. I don't think it was until I started restarted jujitsu here and started meeting people and like building that community, where I was like, oh, okay, this is where I'm at now. And like, this feels good. Cause before that I was like, work, come home, work, talk to my wife for a little bit. Hey, we're camping still.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, probably like a year and a half ago, it was like, this feels like our home now, so roots were planted, took a little bit for them to grow, but here we are and raising our daughter out here. Yeah.
What are some of the things that you really like about it? I love how fucking green it is.
Yeah, and there's no traffic.
Yeah, dude.
And everywhere's like 55 miles an hour.
Yeah. It's a much slower pace of life. Yeah. Like anytime we have to go up to Knoxville or something like that, I don't mind going down to Chattanooga a little bit.
Not as bad.
Yeah.
But Knoxville, it's like,
I hate going to Knoxville, dude.
Yeah. I was supposed to go up there today.
Really?
Yeah, for work. And I was like, I don't know. I'll save it till Sunday. Just do it early. But yeah, the greenery is really nice. The no traffic's really nice. Like, my job's out, 45 minutes away. And when I first started, they were like, that's a 45-minute drive. Like, are you sure you want to do that every day? And I was like, it took me 45 minutes to an hour to go 5 miles in Los Angeles. Yeah. Bumper to bumper traffic. Now I can do 65 miles an hour the whole way. And I hit 2 red lights, one right here and then like one getting there. I'm like, this is great. So that's nice. The community's nice. Everyone out here is kind of not like the same idea, but just kind of like, everyone just wants to raise kids, have a good family, have a loving family, and just like enjoy the time they have here.
Yeah.
And it's like, I got buddies still back home where like, I went back there a year ago for my buddy's wedding, met up with some old friends, and they're still doing the same thing. And it's like, ugh, the lack of change. And like, I couldn't do it. Yeah. I literally hung out with them for like 30 minutes. And I was like, I gotta go, guys. My wife's calling me. She hadn't, but I was like, I can't be here anymore, dude. Like, it's just depressing, like being around them, not like them personally, but just like to see them like doing the same thing over and over, especially living there. And they were like, oh, I want to do this, this, and that. And they just never made the jump. Yeah. So I think taking that initial first step to like change your environment is a hard thing for people, but it pays off, man. I mean, like, you guys did it and you guys liking it. So
yeah. I think it, like you said, I mean, the change in general is always kind of like a scary thing. And it's one thing when you have to deal with it when it just happens, right?
Yeah.
Like when shit comes up, shit happens, you get fired, death, all those kind of different things that life can kind of throw at us. But when you consciously step into it, you're like, I'm going to be in charge of this massive change for my life.
How did you guys end up out here?
Dude, it's such a, like, it's a huge, when I say it's a huge, long story, it's not, I mean, it is a big, long story. There's a bunch of different kind of components and pieces to it. But essentially it was a combination of, Steph and I had always talked about one day when our kids were, graduated and out of the house and everything like that, then we were going to sell the house. And, we thought about like van life for a while and kind of just dreaming about all these different versions of what we could go do and what we could, where we would want to live and all those kind of different things. And then the housing market in Utah just went bananas, where it was like, I don't even remember what we originally paid for our house. It was under 200 grand.
Yeah.
And we had you know, like 5 bedrooms. It was like 3,000 square feet. It was a beautiful home that we had. And when the market started to like really take off, and it was like bananas where people were getting.
It was California people.
Yeah.
Selling their homes that were like $1 million homes.
Exactly.
Up there. And it's like.
Yeah. And they were coming in with like briefcases full of cash. Just ask, you know, they weren't even like, they were paying you like.
Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Woolly. Most fabrics today are packed with synthetic materials and microplastics that shed off into the environment as well as into your skin.
And that's why we love Woolly, because their gear is made with natural merino wool. No synthetics, no microplastics, just high performance, sustainable clothing that's going to keep you comfortable any season.
Woolly's merino wool is breathable, moisture wicking, and built to last. Plus, it's naturally odor resistant, which means you can wear it longer and wash it less.
And right now, bravemendare listeners, and I'm talking about you guys, can get an extra 15% off. So check out the link down on the doobly-doo. Make sure you use that promo code BRAVE, all caps, when you're checking out of getting some of that fresh, high-quality woolly gear.
Woolly. More wool, less plastic.
Hundreds of grand over your asking price, paying cash, paying clothes. I mean, it was just these really, really sweet deals that people were doing. So that kind of like expedited it a little bit. But then on the back end of it all, I was going through, because Stephanie and I got married in 2015. I got fired right after we got married. Like we got married in April and went on our honeymoon. Yeah. And when we got home from our honeymoon, I went back to work and immediately got placed on admin leave. And then it started the ball rolling of the proceedings and the process and everything like that, where I was eventually fired from being a cop. And then that just fucked life up for like years. And everything came up as far as like all of our shit and all of our shadow and all of our emotional things and process and almost losing the relationship and everything just kind of falling apart. And that led me down the path of like, okay, I got to get my shit together. Yeah. But for me, what that looked like was really unpacking and going into like emotional things and understanding why I was the way that I was. And then we started, like COVID happened, and that was obviously a big shift and change. At the time I was traveling all the time. Like I was on the road like 4 or 5 times a month.
With COVID going on?
Well, up into COVID.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like in 2017, I got that job with DreamPod, where I was traveling around setting up sensory deprivation tanks all over the country.
I'm really upset I never got to do one of those in LA.
Dude, they're so awesome. They're so freaking cool. I think there's some places down in Chat.
Is there?
Yeah.
It's just like salt water, right?
It's just salt water, but it's 1,000 pounds of salt.
Wow.
And so you're laying back, and I mean, you quite literally float. So you just get to lay back and float and relax. And the water is, it's not heated up to body temperature, but it's right around 90, 95 degrees. Okay. And so it's really relaxing, really comfortable. You just lay back. It's an amazing experience.
I'm relaxed just thinking about it right now.
I loved it. I started floating way back in the day because it was helpful for like meditation and all sorts of different things. Because at the time I was like doing out of body things and wanting to get deeper into all of those experiences. But I was traveling around setting up all those tanks. And then COVID happened. And then obviously I stopped traveling. And we got enough time off from that where I was like, okay, I don't want to fucking go out anymore. I had to go out a couple of times that year to go do different things once they kind of opened up a little bit. Yeah. And I was like, this sucks. So I was able to like work it with the company and with the boss, the owner of the company, where essentially we just transitioned everything to remote. So it was like now somebody would get a tank and I would just help them via Zoom. Yeah. And that was like so sweet.
It's weird hearing everyone's like pandemic experience, because my wife and I have, you know, she was in alcohol sales. Okay. And I was in healthcare. So like I didn't stop working. Mm-hmm. Like my day didn't change. The only thing that was different is there was no traffic going to work. Yeah. And then my wife did alcohol sales and people were drinking like crazy. And they weren't doing remote. They were just like, you know, wear a mask in the office, yada, yada, yada. So it was like, we still had our lives. Yeah. And then we get home and we're like, all right, let's go out. It's like, there's nowhere to go out to. Although the Whole Foods by us had a bar. Wow. Yeah, it was pretty sweet. And I think for like a month or two, while all the other bars and stuff were closed down, Whole Foods bar was open because it was a grocery store. And then the health department got on and they were like, hey, you can't have this open. Your grocery store can be open, but this bar. And we're like, oh man, like, dang. So, but it's interesting hearing what everyone else had to deal with because ours was completely different. I mean, still working and like going to work physically is just, well, everything else is like pure panic. Is wild.
Yeah, it was no, what were you going to say?
Going back to what you were saying about like Los Angeles, and when you were there, we had to like shut our emergency doors. Like the ER had like riot doors. Like the whole ER would like riot down because we had a couple protests coming in and like, yeah, closed down. I'd be driving home and like, I'm sure there was a couple stories where like National Guard was deployed in Los Angeles. And yeah, sure shit, like quarter mile down the road, there's like National Guard people up on the roof of the malls and the parking garages, rifles, no magazines. None of them had magazines. And like there was pictures. If you go back and like look at all the news articles of the National Guard, none of them had magazines. So it's like, what's the point?
Right.
Like, and I don't think
that sounds like Hollywood. That sounds like LA.
Yeah, very LA. So, but it was crazy, like having the ER just like locked down. Because you're like, oh shit.
I was in Portland during that time period where Portland was like really, you know, I don't remember exactly what they were protesting about, but it was like when Portland was like on fire and falling apart and everything like that. I had to travel to Portland for that.
Did you go to Chaz?
What's Chaz?
There was like it was like that unoccupied zone where they
right. It was during that time period. And I remember like Steph was super stressed about it. I'm like, baby, it's going to be fine. I mean, when you travel a lot, you realize that what you are being told life is like out there across the country really isn't what it's like. So I wasn't too nervous about it. And
you're also not a small man.
Right. That's the other thing. I'm not too concerned about
it. Would,
you know,
I've rolled with you, Greg. When you, that side pressure sucks.
Yeah.
And like, I would not fight you in the street.
It was cool though, because I got there and nothing was happening. And like when I took the Uber from the airport, I was like asking the guy, I'm like, so, and he's like, oh, nobody gives a shit. Like it's 2 blocks over that way. It's this little area downtown. And it's basically like everything's, you know, cordoned off and they've got the roadblocks. And it's like, that's where that's happening.
It's a permanent farmer's market.
Yeah, it's totally what it is. And then everything else is just functioning normal. Yeah. So I was walking everywhere. I was going back and forth to where I was working. It was totally safe and fine. It was just so fascinating because you see, you know, all this news stories and everything like that.
That's what the media does, right? They just
totally does
inject the fear.
The fear, dude.
Yeah.
Fear sells, right?
It does indeed. But it's interesting to look back on it now and be like, that was a crazy time. And
it's still a crazy time.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people have like fully recovered.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's hard to. You just shattered their worldview of what life was like. Did you hear about Spain recently?
The outage?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was like it was like Southern Europe almost,
it was
right?
Like, I think it was like 4 or 5 countries.
Yeah. I know, dude. I'm excited. Like there's a part of me, like there's always this part of me, and it's not the part, like it's truthfully, it's like it's kind of a fucked up part of me, but there's a part of me that's excited for the day, if it ever happens, where everything is just like, I'm not hoping for the apocalypse. I don't want the apocalypse to happen.
What kind of apocalypse do you want?
Like I want the peaceful apocalypse. I really do. But I'm also, there's definitely a part of me that's excited for zombies. There's definitely a part of me that's excited to like, I don't have any guns anymore. I got rid of all my guns after I was a cop, but I have swords and knives and like I've got weird medieval weapons. I've got a hammer of war that's like this awesome thing that I love. And if there ever comes a day when there's zombies, I'm going to be very, very grateful and excited. Unless they're like the fast zombies, and most of the movies nowadays are fast zombies.
You should listen to We're Alive.
We're Alive?
Yeah, it's like a audio drama. Theater for the mind is what they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on Spotify, but it starts off like kind of like an outbreak zombie. It's like 4, 5, 6 seasons, but now the newest spin-off is like Descendants.
Okay.
So it's like the children of the original people who survived. I think it's right in.
Yeah.
It's all of that.
Yeah, I can't get too, like, if I go down those rabbit holes too much, then, because it just shifts your point of view and your perspective, right? It's what you think about, what you consume, all those kind of different things. But there was a while there where I was very excited for the end of the world. But what like I never really followed. I just saw the Spain stuff, on social media. Did they ever decide or tell us what really happened?
I'll be honest. don't know that much. I just know they had a blackout. Listen, you said something a while ago to me, then I was like, you'd rather create content than consume content.
Yeah.
And I was getting like I was getting fat off consumption.
Yeah, dude.
So now I try to like, I've been creating some content for like my new job, for my job that I currently do, like just like kind of beer education and like behind the scenes stuff like that. And trying to limit what I watch. Like I'll wake up in the morning and I have like 6 Instagram messages from like buddies. And it's like, I'm not watching all this.
Yeah, dude.
Like, I don't want to watch all this. And it's like half the time it's politics. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I really don't care anymore, dude. Like, I just
really have to cultivate. Like, I think about social media because, I mean, I'm on it so much every single day, but it's all from the perspective of, you know, I'm putting out content and sharing content. And it's our job in a sense, right? It's the thing that we're doing that keeps the lights on. And so I see it very, very differently. And anytime I'm like just consuming content, I've learned that I have to be incredibly diligent. I was talking to a buddy of mine about this, where it's like the algorithm is so good and it'll just obviously give you what you look at. And so
I don't like anything anymore.
Yeah.
I'll just scroll and just...
Well, even you don't even have to like stuff anymore. It's like if you're on it, that is enough to where they, oh, cool, we'll show you more of this. Yeah. So it's not even a matter, like you don't have to like stuff. It's just if you're on it long enough, and it's
just
not
can't
even,
win.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's a really cool representation of, it's the same thing of like what you focus on, you feed. It's the stuff that you think about is how you shape and mold your reality.
Yeah.
And so social media is just doing this beautiful thing where whatever you're looking at, it's going to give you more of it. So it's the same thing, like whatever you're thinking about, you're going to create more of that.
Yeah.
And so it's just showing us how we operate already. But if you hack that system, like my feed, I very rarely see anything political. I very rarely see any of those.
Mine is finally like gone away from it all.
Yeah.
And it's so nice, man. Like,
it is nice. Like the little bit of time that I get on and I'm consuming content, it's all happy stuff. It's all good stuff. It's all like, you know,
mine's like funny stuff.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, animals doing things, or like, you know, I saw this one. It was like, this guy built like a drink refiller for like his bourbon in his truck. He's just sitting in his truck and like he puts his cup under his radio and it just dispenses more bourbon. I was like, but I'm in that industry now of like, you know, bartending, beer, spirits, cocktails. So that's what mine is more geared towards now. That and food. Because my wife and I, we try to really find like new ways to cook to keep it fresh and exciting. Because eating the same thing over and over does get tiring. Old. And there's the gripe I have with Eastern Tennessee is the food is
pretty limited when it comes to food options.
Yeah.
I do like me some biscuits though.
You came to the right place. Yeah. I was, like I told you earlier, we were at grandma's kitchen. And Chad was there and he got the biscuits and gravy and it was so good.
Yeah, dude.
He fed me with a spoon. He personally fed me. And I was like, man, that's a good biscuit right there. So
I know that because you're working at the brewery. And how did you get into that? Was that just a job? Was that something that you were excited about? Or how did you fucking find yourself at that point?
So my wife had gotten me like a homebrew kit for my birthday when we were living in Los Angeles. And, did it for a couple times and I was like, oh, this is fun. And then I would like bottle it up and I would take it to my local bar. And guess what? When 2 o'clock came and they shut down, I'd pop the hatch of my Volkswagen, put out a little sign, $5 a beer. And I'd pop my beer bottles, pour them beer and get money. And I'd buy my next brew kit. Like that's how I did it for like 5 or 6 times. And then, decided not to do healthcare anymore. And I was like, what do I do out there?
Yeah.
My wife's like, why don't you brew beer? I was like, all right. Literally went on Google Maps, like typed in our address we were moving to, zoomed out, typed in brewery, and like where I work now was the closest one because there's really nothing unless you're in Chattanooga or Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
Sent him an email. Turns out the last assistant guy had like just quit like 2 days before I'd sent that email. So it was like stars aligned.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And now I've been there for 3 years, like head brewing, like I do from grain to glass and everything in between, like by myself. So it's been
Is it a lot of self-taught stuff, or like when you started that job, was it a pretty good
I mean, the
apprenticeship?
process is like all the same from like small system to big system. The biggest thing was like now instead of dealing with like hoses that are like 12 inches long, it's like 18-foot hoses and like big pumps and just like big glycol chillers and lots of water and way more grain than I'd ever handled before. So, but yeah, it's a lot of self-teaching, a lot of mistakes. Definitely, like I've made bad beers before. And the worst is when like I make a bad beer and I tell my boss, I'm like, this beer's not that great. And it's like, they still need their profits. So like, all right, we'll just put it on. I'm like, ugh. And then I put it on and people are like, this is the best beer I've ever had. And I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Like, this beer sucks. But there's something out there for everybody, I guess. And you know, you can't, the human palate is a wide array of taste and flavor. So if someone drinks it and likes it, like, what can you do?
What have you learned in that process that like really surprises you when it comes to like something that you wouldn't have expected when it comes to brewing beer, as far as like the process? Because I know nothing about it, right? I think the vast majority of us drink beer and have fuck all ideas about how it's created or, you know, anything that goes into the process. Yeah,
it's I mean, it's if you've ever made a bowl of oatmeal, that's the first step right there.
Okay.
It's like just soaking some grains in some hot water, getting those sugars out. You boil it to sanitize it because you're adding yeast. So like bourbon and other spirits, you don't have to boil it after you get the sugars out because you want all the yeast in there to eat all those sugars and make it just like super high alcohol. But beer, we don't want that. So we have to like sanitize it, boil it. And it's a fun, interesting thing because, I mean, you can boil it anywhere from 30 minutes, hell, 5 minutes, 60 minutes, 4 hours, 8 hours. There's some breweries out there that do like 48-hour boils.
Really?
Just to get like really deep. So
I'm just going to say like what would be the, like how does that affect the beer, the flavor, the
so there's
taste,
like Maillard reactions. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Maillard?
Maillard, Maillard. It's like caramelization of sugars.
Okay.
So you get really like some nice like deep sugary like caramel tones.
The longer you boil it?
Yeah. So for like, you know, stouts, like really high alcohol stouts, that would be something to do. The chemical process, I know fuck all about. Like I'm just not there. Listen, I make beer. That's all I do. I don't have a degree in anything. And at this point, it's like I'd have to go back to school for like a master's in like biochemical. And I'm just like, just to have a better knowledge of it. And I'm like, I'm of the track where it's like experience in what you do is the best type of teaching lesson.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's just what I'll do from here on out. So we'll see. It's my current trajectory, but I've switched before. I don't want to switch again. I like what I do. Mm-hmm. So I've been a mechanic. I was a medic and then doing this. So I like to stay here. It's fun. It's get to drink beer, get to talk to people, you know, who aren't in emergency situations. So it's the better conversations to have.
It's a creative process too. Like it is in there, to, you know, mixing it and doing.
And I've never been a very artistic person.
Yeah.
Like if you could tell me to draw something, I'd be like, here's a stick figure. Like my artistic ability is zilch. But when it comes to beer, it's a craft.
It's totally like I've been thinking a lot about that lately too, where I recognize that, you know, I would have told myself, I did tell myself for a long time that I wasn't an artistic person.
Yeah.
For the same reason, right? I had such a limited perception of what art really was.
Yeah.
You're thinking of it as just a painting or a drawing or something like that. But I think we're all not just have the capacity for creativity, but I think we are all creative all the time. And it's just in all of these other ways and all of these other things that we do. But because we don't label them that or see them that way, then they kind of go, you know, by the wayside and we don't really see it.
Yeah.
But it's totally a craft. It's totally an art. You're totally creating and bringing something forth and having different ideas and mixing and doing
switching it up from time to time just to see what happens. And I enjoy it. It's something that a lot of people, you know, say they wish they did. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hey, if you want to come clean some tanks, because that's 90% of my job, come on in. I'll do the help. So, but yeah.
Do you ever make stuff that isn't for public consumption, just for private consumption?
Very rarely. So
Well, I worked at when I say I worked at a brewery, I didn't work at a brewery. I worked at a bar.
Okay.
That was attached to a brewery. So they had a really nice brewery and there was a bar restaurant kind of thing. And I was the bar back. And the guy that was the main brewer, he would make these special batches of like 18% kind of like really high content, almost like a mead wine kind of mull thing. And he would make those little pony kegs of that stuff. And then that's what we would drink when we were all done at the end of the night and stuff like that.
Sometimes I get to mess around with it. Like I've done a pear wine, which was really good. And I did like 5 gallons of it. Gave it to some of the jiu-jitsu guys. They all loved it. Coffee lagers, but like they're like crystal clear. You open it up, you're like, I ordered the coffee lager. I'm like, that is it. Yeah. They're like, it's not dark. I'm like, yeah, because the beans are whole. So I'll roast the beans myself, and then I'll just put them in like a nice light lager for like 72 hours. Pull it off, and then like I have my regulars at the brewery who come in and like they'll be my test mules. I'm like, here, try this. What do you think? Like, that's good. I'm like, all right, guess I'm doing another batch of it instead of just continuously like scaling it up. But yeah, the hard part is I wish I had more like exotic things to use. I say exotic, but just, I'd love to do foraging for like beer stuff. So
that'd be way cool.
Yeah.
Tennessee's full of it too, dude. Yeah. Like there's so much. It's everywhere as far as like stuff that you can forage. But here in Tennessee, that's one thing, the diversity of like plants, and not just plants, but animals and everything. But like in our front yard, we have tons of stuff that we could be making.
So in the fall time, there's like blue flowers that pop up along the side of all the highways. Spoke to a lady at the brewery and she was like, yeah, the flowers don't really do much, but she's like, the roots to them, if you roast them, they give like this chocolatey flavor. So if you see me out on the roadways in the fall time, just picking those flowers up, that's what I'm doing. Something good's coming.
That would be way cool. Yeah, like, that's totally a thing.
That's kind of like the thing that I would really like to get into. The hard part is it's hard to scale that up. Yeah. Because it's like, I'd be out there for 12 hours pulling enough of those roots up and toasting them to make a batch that's, 100 gallons. So and I'm like, maybe I'll just do it in my home system. And I get home and I'm like, I don't want to brew beer at home. Yeah. I do it for work, so yeah. But foraging for like local ingredients would be a cool thing.
Could you do like small batches and have it be like more of like a premium thing where, do you know what I mean? Rather than.
Yeah. If I had not more say at where I work, because I basically do everything. If I had the company credit card, I could probably do a little bit more. But there's some places around here that are doing some pretty cool stuff with beer. Yeah. There's a brewery out in Nashville called Brewing, and they actually put like petri dishes out all around in like wildflower fields, and they harvested like yeast. Oh, wow. And they sent it to a yeast lab and like isolated specific yeast strains that had different properties. And now all their beer is made with Tennessee yeast.
That's
stuff
awesome.
That's native. And we're having more maltsters out here.
What's that?
People who like harvest grains and use it for brewing. Okay. So corn's big out here. There's like Riverbend Malt House in North Carolina, and all their grain that they sell is within a 300-mile radius. So that's something I'm interested in doing, is like kind of keeping everything local. Yeah. Not just because it's like, it's good for the environment, first of all. Like, listen, I don't want to be like shipping stuff all the way over from Germany every month for my grain. Although Germany makes some really great malts. Like the grains that they send are top tier. But just like having more Tennessee grains used in the beer, I think would be really cool. Unfortunately, hops don't do well out here, except for some certain varieties that aren't too desired.
Do you have to have both?
Yeah.
Or is it just dependent?
So beer consists of, there's 4 ingredients: water, malt or grains, yeast, and hops. So those, people add other stuff, but those are like the 4 main ingredients to make beer. So, and those are really the only ones you need to make a good beer. That and cold temperatures and time and, care. So, yeah, man. Do you have it? What's your craft that you like to do? Or have you found?
Yeah. One? Over the years, it's been a bunch of different things. Photography. When I say I got into photography, I've been taking pictures since I was a kid. My dad had an old 35 millimeter camera that was like super old school that he gave to me once. He gave it to me and it was mine then, but I used to use that all the time. I used to steal the disposable cameras back in the day, like the kind that have the little wind up and everything. I would steal those and then run around taking pictures and then go get them developed and then steal the developing. So I've always been into photography. That's a real passion of mine that I love. I've painted over the years. Lately, it's been content, and it's interesting because it all came from like the podcast and everything that we do, where at some point I realized what we do with the podcast, and not just with Brave Men, but with the Steph and Craig show, it's essentially it's this long form conversation. But when I started to think about the podcast different than just the audio and started to think about it as the video portion of it and video production and video content creation, then I got really excited about learning how to do all of that and the editing process and sound editing and all of those kind of different things.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like for me, I wish, a lot of the content that we create and put out, when I say it's not formulaic, there's just a plug and play, right? I'm just taking new content, new reels, new content from the episode that week. But I really like making, it's like making content that I like and content that I'm passionate about, content that I'm using my creative mind and my creative abilities in and all of those kind of things. So that's been like in the last few years.
Yeah.
But I'm constantly on the look for because it's been a really big shift for me, is seeing everything as this creation process, seeing everything as the opportunity to design and create and bring forth whatever I want.
Have you been seeing these pinhole cameras with like Coca-Cola cans?
Isn't that fucking
That's
awesome?
wild, dude.
Yeah.
I saw one of them and it was like put it in the mountains, like nailed it to a tree. And just like a little pinhole, put some film and let it open for like 48 hours.
Yeah, dude.
It's like, how do people come up with that stuff? Like I guess there just has to be an understanding of photography.
I'm sure
in the
that's
process.
like an old school technique.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm sure that's like original how we were doing stuff way back in the day.
But how do you find that out?
I know.
Like, who was the first person that was like, I wonder what happens if I just put this film in here and poke a little hole in a can and
right?
Like leave it open for so long.
That's how everything gets discovered. It's always by accident.
That's
right?
why it's discovery, right?
It's built into the name.
Yeah. So I find that interesting. Do you follow, there's an account and you talk about like little spinny wheel disposable cameras. Do you follow the guy? He just like walks up to random people like on the street or on the airport. He's like, hey, like, where are you going tonight? It's like, oh, we're going out or we're going on vacation. He's like, here, take this disposable camera.
Yeah.
We'll make a camera. And I'm like, dude, that's some cool stuff right there, because by the way, those cameras now are expensive.
Are they?
Disposable cameras. My wife and I were like, instead of hiring a photographer, we'll just buy like 20 disposable cameras and we'll just give everybody one. They were like $20 each.
Seriously?
Yeah. Kodak, you need to get it together, because they're not so like the $5 cameras anymore. They're expensive.
I guess you can still get film developed at places, right?
Yeah. Walgreens still does it. And I'm sure like CVS still does it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing, like I said, with some videos here and there. So I've been on CapCut.
That's what I edit everything on.
It's so easy.
Yeah, it's so easy.
It's literally just like 2 seconds of just adding some clips, shortening them, lengthening them, transitions.
Yeah. I'm a CapCut master now.
My wife was trying to use Canva because she's like trying to do her bakery stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, you just got to get CapCut. I love the memes.
Have you ever used the not the mobile version, but the desktop version of CapCut?
I don't have a computer.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of,
I have my phone. Hard then.
I have my phone. Like everything's on there. My banking and everything's on there. I don't need one. My wife has a computer. So I guess I, by default, also have a computer because we're married, but I just never get on it. She uses it so much that the keyboard letters, you can't read them. I'm not proficient enough to like know which letters are where.
You're not a typist?
No.
I took that class in high school and it stuck with me. It's like the gift that just kept on giving.
I'm not like one of these people. Like I can move around, but I'm not like the proper.
Like back in the day, especially when I was a cop, it was one of those things that was, because vast majority of what you're doing as a police officer is reporting.
Yeah.
So you're documenting and writing reports for every single thing that you do. And I mean, when I'm like practicing every single day, I'm like 90, 100 words a minute.
It's impressive. I think I was like 60.
Yeah.
But it's like, now I don't need to type.
Right.
I mean, I write everything down.
Now we just talk to our phones and it types everything out.
I don't even do that.
Don't you?
No.
I love that feature. I was so pissed off yesterday. I was running errands, going grocery shopping, and I'm in Walmart and I needed like, because, you know, she sends me a list and I got to go get the list and everything. And the thing that is on the list isn't there. So I got to get a different version. So I'm sitting there like texting Stephanie.
Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Heritage Steel. If you're serious about quality in the kitchen, it's time to check out Heritage Steel. All their cookware is handcrafted right here in Tennessee.
Heritage Steel isn't just another cookware brand. This is American craftsmanship at its finest, using high-quality, multi-clad stainless steel to give you unmatched durability, precision, and performance. Whether you're searing, sauteing, simmering, or good old-fashioned pan frying, these pans were built to last for generations.
Their cookware is safe for any cooking surface. It's easy to clean, and every piece comes with a lifetime warranty.
And right now, Brave Mendare listeners, I'm talking to you. You guys can save an extra 10% off. Go over to www.heritagesteel.us/brave. Make sure you use the promo code BRAVE, all caps, to get that extra 10% off at checkout. Upgrade your kitchen with the cookware that's going to stand the test of time.
Heritage Steel, chef-grade cookware for less.
And I was so frustrated because it took so fucking long to type out this stupid sentence. And I'm like, I don't know. I used to think that I was excited for Neuralink where I could just think those things, but I don't know anymore if I really want the Neuralink.
You don't want the chip?
I don't know.
Dude.
The social media monsters got me thinking twice about Elon now, but who knows?
Think about all the cool stuff you could learn though.
Mm-hmm.
Practicality-wise, like, to pair that with a VR headset,
that's where we're headed.
Game over, dude.
I think that's where we're headed.
I'm fortunate enough that my job will never be replaced by AI. There's definitely automation in some aspects of my job, and like bigger brewing systems definitely have it. But those are like $1 million brew house systems.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to get to that place because then you're just sitting in a chair hitting buttons and being a button presser, and it's not for me.
Yeah.
It's not for me. So
let's talk about fatherhood, man.
Yeah.
So your daughter's 2 years old.
About to be 2, yeah.
What has that process been like, but I mean, have you always wanted to be a dad? Like, I think that's an interesting thing is I grew up wanting to be a dad.
Yeah.
Like I knew that I was going to have kids. I used to even when I was like in middle school, I would pick my kids' names. Like I had names picked out for my kids. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's just embedded in all of us.
Yeah.
You know, for the most part, that like, that's kind of what your programming is as a man to do, is to like have kids, have a family. I mean, that's how your lineage continues on. And like, that's kind of how you survive.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I would say like always wanted kids. And now that I have one, I'm like, this is crazy. Like having a little person is crazy, especially when they're coming up on 2 years old. My wife does an excellent job, like raising her. Like she knows, I think she's smart, knows her colors. She counts to like 10 on occasion. She'll not get him right in order, but she'll get there.
Yeah.
And it's just fun, man. It's cool. Like having a little person just like run around. I don't know what it's going to be like in 14 years.
It gets a lot funner.
Yeah. When she's a teenager, I'm not looking forward to it, but hopefully we'll raise her right so it won't be too big of a problem.
It's gonna be a problem. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
No matter what you do as a parent, your kids are always going to push back against it. So if you're really strict, then they're going to push back against that. If you're really not strict, I mean, it's just the nature of growth.
Yeah.
Where you become the point of resistance for them. So there's not a lot you can do about it.
Yeah. You have to have like that balance,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So like my wife is, you know, obviously the mother figure in that, where it's the more caring and I'm the more direct. Like we finally got her sleeping in her own bed. So
Nice.
we co-slept with her for way too long. And it was like my wife would try to put her to bed and it would just be screaming, crying, yada, yada, yada. And then Josh's wife, Mandy, was like, why don't you try putting her to bed? And I was like, all right. Little screaming, but that she would fall asleep and then I'd head out the room and then yada, yada, yada. But now I'm just like, I'm tired of this. Like, I want to sleep in my bed. Because it would get to the point where I'd fall asleep with her and wake up at 4:30 in the morning to go to jiu-jitsu. And it's like, my back is hurting, man. Like, this sucks. So now last week I just put her to bed. I said, it's bedtime. And I went out the room and closed the door. And guess what? She slept all night.
Nice.
And she's been doing it for a week now. And it's the biggest blessing to not have to deal with that.
Yeah.
You know? And same for nap time. My wife's like, I'm going to try your method. And she was like, it's time for a nap. Put her in a room, close the door. She slept. So I was like, all right, well, there we go. So I think having that direct, you know, communication with them is key.
What's been the biggest thing that has surprised you about having a kid, about being a dad?
Oh, the fear. The fear of like, there's always that thing in the back of your head that's like, what if something goes wrong? Because like, it's a 45-minute drive back to my house. And my wife still doesn't have a license because she just hangs out at the house with our daughter. And I'm like, every day I'm driving to work, I'm like, fuck, I hope nothing. You know, it's just always there, that constant fear. Luckily, we have great neighbors who, you know, it's almost like a third set of grandparents to our daughter. She's over there all the time.
That's cool.
So at least like that's like my fallback is like at least someone's there to do something about it. My wife's competent enough to like deal with anything.
Yeah.
But being in the background of emergency healthcare, I'm just always like that anxiety.
And there's something massively different about emergency healthcare out here in Tennessee. That was something that was like really shocking to us. Because if you come from, I wanted to say like civilized worlds, but like if you're
big cities.
Yeah. It's just even not even, I mean, because we didn't live in a big city where we lived in Utah, but we lived in like a functional community.
Yeah.
And out here, there's not a lot of resources available. And so you think like, oh, there's 911 and an ambulance and everything's going to happen the way that it's supposed to happen. And that's just not really the case in a lot of these places.
I had a public speaking class or public communications class in college. And I did my report on hospitals in Los Angeles because out there, like not a lot of people know different hospitals have different specialties.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's places for strokes, there's places for trauma. So that's what I had to give like a presentation on something. You know, we had 8-10 hospitals within a 10-mile radius, but there's just so many people there. But it's like, yeah, like if you're having a stroke, like you need to go to Burbank. Like that's where you're going to want to go. Like if you get stabbed, like Mission Hills, like that's where you're going to, Holy Cross was the hospital. It's like, that's your closest trauma center. And it's like, people had no idea.
Yeah.
It's like, you think just cause you're close to a hospital, you go there and it's like, they're not
going to be able to
equipped
take care of everything.
I mean, like for the most part, they'll probably do a good job because majority, there's still emergency doctors there. There's still ER nurses there.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, the supplies are still there. But like if something really, really bad happens out here, it's a medevac.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think the closest medevac I've seen it's in Sweetwater, that UT medevac off the highway. But dude, like, you better hope there's no one else who needs that when you need it. You know?
So how do you deal with that fear?
Take a deep breath, deep breath, and have a beer and say, my wife can handle this.
Yeah.
You know, and like, my wife calls me if anything's ever going on. So, you know, we'll FaceTime when I get to work. She'll FaceTime with my daughter. So that's always a good thing. But it's, you know, you're always just worried as a dad to, you know, you want to protect them and make sure everything's okay. And just being away from them and not being like, all right, I'm 5 minutes away. You know, it's a little anxiety.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's been the hardest. But I'm trying like every day is like, all right. You know, the older they get, it's also like the chances like that infant mortality drop way down.
Yeah.
So now that she's 2, I'm like, all right, you're out of the woods for the most part.
Yeah.
So
how has it been different than you thought it was going to be?
I don't think there's really a difference. I didn't know what it was going to be.
Okay.
So I was just
didn't
like,
go in with a lot of expectation.
Yeah, I didn't really care for like the potato phase where they're like firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, I don't know what to do with you. Then like around like 9 months, she started walking and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But I had no expectations. Like I didn't know what to do. And I think you've spoken on this where it's like, I guess I'm a dad now. Like, don't really know what that entails.
Yeah.
But you just kind of do your best and hope for the best. And I think for the most part, like majority of people do fairly well. So
I don't know about that. We're all pretty fucked up. I think the majority of us suck at parenting. I think the majority of, I mean, we might keep people alive.
Dude, that's the biggest part.
Yes, it's nice, but that's also the easiest part. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you think about it, like keeping another human alive is pretty easy. Right?
Know.
But keeping them alive and healthy and emotionally balanced and stable and like all of these different things that really go into like, because I mean, as a parent, you're always just wanting your kids to be happy and healthy.
Yeah.
Right? You want their life to be full of joy and you want them to be healthy.
Yeah.
And the healthy part is relatively, and depending on how you like view health, right? Like, obviously we're all very unhealthy in some capacity because of obesity and sugar and high fructose corn syrup and all these kind of different things. But there's that whole other realm of like emotional health and mental health and all of those kind of things that I don't think, the vast majority of society is doing anything about. We're just looking at it from the perspective of like, okay, I'm keeping them physically healthy.
Yeah.
I'm feeding them. I'm keeping a roof over their head.
Yeah.
But I think there's so much more that needs to be taken into consideration and done. At least like when I look back over the course of my life, because all of my oldest is 25.
Okay.
Asher's going to be 19 this month.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're well out of that phase of raising kids to a certain extent.
Is it easier now that they're that old?
I mean, it's easier in the sense that we don't have like the day in and day out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard because you don't have that day-to-day connection.
There's no control of like what happens.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, all right, dude, you're driving now.
Yeah. And that control part also is much like you'll lose that control much earlier than you think. Like right now you kind of have control over her safety and what she does and where she goes and everything like that. But as soon as they get into school, as soon as they get to the point where they're outside of your control, then it's gone. You don't have it anymore.
Yeah. We really try to like let her do her own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 5 acres and for the most part, there's nothing really like dangerous going on in our backyard.
Yeah.
So like if there's laundry to be done, like my wife and I will be folding laundry in the room and like our daughter's out in the backyard with our dog.
Yeah.
And it's like, we can see her. It's like, all right. Keep checking on her. But we just want to build that independence for her.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a big thing nowadays is the lack of independence and the lack of confidence.
Yeah,
in
confidence,
kids.
I think. That self-esteem. Right?
I was probably the last generation of like, all right, you got to be home when the streetlights come on.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a cell phone growing up, so I'm 33. So it was like, I remember being out till like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. My parents had no idea where I was.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't doing anything bad. Not most of the time, but, turned out okay. But then I think you had a brief instance of just helicopter parents who were just my mom, bless her heart, but like she'll come over sometimes and my daughter does this thing where she'll like run under my legs. And she went to go run under my legs and like I did the thing we always did. And my daughter just wham runs into our kitchen island. And it's not like thick wood. It's, just, the cheap flimsy stuff. It makes a loud noise though. And my mom like freaks out, like stands up. Oh my gosh, is she okay? I was like, Mom, calm down. She's fine.
Yeah.
It's like, she just got up. And I like reached down. I was like, you okay? She goes, yeah. Give her a little kiss on the head. And my mom was like, oh, that was really loud. I was like, Mom, stop. Like, relax. She'll be okay. So we just want to build like the confidence and the independence for her, like at a really young age.
Mm-hmm.
That way, when she does get older, like she doesn't doubt herself in what she wants to do.
Yeah.
So kind of just keeping her alive and keeping her healthy is kind of our main goal still.
Yeah.
Just letting her do her own thing.
Do you ever think about, this is something that I didn't have massive awareness of when my kids were younger. And it's not until, in my mind, it was probably a little too late, but the truth of it wasn't too late. But the truth, I think, and the reality is that you are now her model for what men are.
Yeah.
And so everything that you do, everything that you are, all of that is going to directly influence and shape the men that she seeks out and gravitates towards throughout the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about that?
I do. That's why I cook a lot of the food. And I don't let her eat shitty food. Because I'm not going to have any of these boys take her to Cracker Barrel and her be impressed by it. Like, it's just not happening. So I try to like feed her really good food. Like my wife does a great job of cooking. Like, it's funny. Josh Decker and I were always like, best places to eat is at our houses.
Yeah.
Like, we did lengua. which is like,
ooh,
yeah,
really?
yeah. I had a half a cow done. I split it with Joe. We got a full cow, Joe and I did. And the butcher was like, do you want everything? And I was like, yes. He goes, what about the tongue? I said, yes.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Lango's delicious when they cooked right and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. We probably could have done it a bit differently. I mean, it was still good.
Was it the first time you'd done it?
Yeah. I mean, I had it all the time in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But I've never cooked it myself because beef tongue is just not
it's not something you come across.
Not something that's just hanging out in the store.
Mm-hmm.
But the butcher was like, yeah, do you want the tongue? And I was like, yes. I was like,
Nice.
and if no one else wants their tongues, you can add them in mine too. So that was fun. But it's like, yeah, Josh and I just literally had like all these different peppers. We made like 4 or 5 different salsas.
Nice.
Just trying new stuff out and just, having good meals with good families, I think is one of the best things about living out here. So yeah, don't want some dusty ass son to impress my daughter with shitty food. It's the biggest thing. So
how do you think it's changed yours and Scarlett's relationship?
Changed our relationship. I mean, obviously we have a common goal now.
Yeah.
Is to raise up our daughter. I mean, we're still just like team players. And I think that's the biggest thing is we're a team, and it's open communication has always been a big thing for us. Sometimes obviously you don't do it as well as you'd like to.
Yeah.
But, just coming back and like talking to your partner and telling them how you feel, what you want to feel, and like what went wrong, I think is a big thing. And then just never going to bed upset or mad with each other is a good thing. And sometimes having a kid, it's frustrating. I mean, I get home sometimes, I've had a great day. And my wife's like, the child hasn't slept. I'm tired, like I feel like shit. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, like, I'm sorry, like, go lay down. Like, I'll take the little one and like, I'll take her outside and just kind of give my wife a break. So I think just being a team player and just kind of helping each other out is the biggest thing. I mean, that's how you keep a good marriage going. I assume it's only been 3 years, so we're still young in this, but it's going pretty well so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys have plans for more kids?
I think so. Yeah, probably one more.
Yeah.
I'm 33. She's a year or two older than me. And, we don't want to be like old parents. Mm-hmm. Granted, we both exercise 5 times a week. So that 60-year-old thinking that 60 is old now is just...
Yeah, it's not a thing anymore.
No, unless you're Joe and his cognitive decline.
That's what he said last night. Did he tell you how that's what it is? Yeah. It was,
Monica just threw him under the bus. It's like, man, that's brutal.
If you haven't listened to the episode with Joe Young, there's a part in it where I was asking him, we were talking about jiu-jitsu and talking about some of the struggles that he has with jiu-jitsu. And I mentioned to him that he should go home and ask his wife because she knows him the best, right? I mean, they've been, 26 years or something? They've been married or something?
Yeah, 26, 27.
It's been together for a long time. And I was like, go home and ask your wife why you think you struggle with these things at jiu-jitsu. Because she might not know a lot about jiu-jitsu or anything, but she knows a lot about you. And apparently she told him, it's like, hey, maybe it's cognitive.
Yeah.
Maybe you're 60 years old. You can't fucking remember shit.
Bless her for just being honest with him. That's an open, honest relationship right there. Still at 27 years old. It's a beautiful thing. So, but it's funny.
Yeah.
No hate, Joe. I love you, buddy. It's nice rolling with you. But,
Joe's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of anybody else that, I mean, you think about 60-year-old men. And I mean, he's training jiu-jitsu multiple times a week. You guys are lifting every week, right?
He lifts more than I do. I'll be honest. Thursdays come around. My job's a physical job. Mm-hmm. Like I'm lifting 55-pound grain sacks all the time. By the time Thursday comes, my body is like, fuck, bro, give me a break. And I'll text him Wednesday night or like, it'll be Thursday morning. Like, my body's not feeling it today. And Joe's funny. Joe doesn't check his phone. Like he wakes up like 10 minutes before he's supposed to be there and just goes out the door and then he gets to Ben's house. And it's like, he works out more than I do.
That's awesome.
And yeah, and if I hope to be at like that at his age.
Yeah.
Because that's impressive. Yeah. I mean, just the jiu-jitsu alone is like 4 times a week.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Talk about jiu-jitsu. When did you get into it? I know that you said that, I mean, obviously you've been going since you've been here in Tennessee. But...
Yeah. This is, I started, when was the pandemic?
2020?
I'll say 2021 is when I started.
Okay.
So 4 years. Funny enough, I found a gym in Los Angeles that was staying open. throughout, like they weren't closing down. Enrich Fitness was the name. This dude was huge. Like if you were a peasant in the 14th century and like he came to your village, like you might as well just burn your own house down. Like this dude was a giant man. Like I'm talking like 6'9" and just like 260, just like
wow,
8% body fat. But he would stay open throughout the whole pandemic. And like Burbank PD came to the gym multiple times and were like, you got to close. And he was like, this is a private establishment. We're not open to the public. This is private. You need to fucking leave. And they did. He didn't close once. Impressive.
Yeah.
And funny enough, Eddie Bravo was there.
Really?
Yeah. And so I was like, hey man, like, you know, obviously seen him on the Joe Rogan podcast. And I was like, I'm looking to try out jujitsu. I just want to do something else. And he was like, yeah, man, like send us an email. Because the 10th Planet was in Burbank as well. I'd driven and passed it all the time going to the gym. They had the brown paper, butcher paper covered up over the walls.
Windows.
Never got an email back. So I was like, maybe they're just like not accepting new people right now because they don't want to get like, you know, thrown under the bus for being open and get fined because they were fining people. Like, whatever. Anyway, things started lightening up. Gym opened up about a mile down the road, new ground.
What was the impetus? Like, why did you want to get into jiu-jitsu?
I just wanted something new, man. I was big in like the bar scene.
Okay.
You know, just going out every night, spending money, drinking, getting drunk.
Did you have any, like growing up, did you do anything? Wrestling?
Karate.
Okay.
I did. I went to wrestling practice. Like I went to wrestling practice in high school a couple times and they were like, all right, we got to meet this weekend. And then I was like, I'm not going. I couldn't do the little singlets.
It's just like, I saw some clip the other day online where they were talking about like, that's one of the things that they're thinking needs to go away for wrestling if they want to bring wrestling into the mainstream and make it more.
Make it like no-gi jujitsu.
Yeah, just get rid
of
the
a rash guard, bro, and some shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
but
I needed something different.
Did you fight growing up? I know you mentioned that you punched somebody, but like...
I didn't punch him. I slapped him.
You slapped him?
I slapped him.
Okay.
It was an open hand slap.
Okay.
The words were, if you're going to... Sorry, folks. This is not who I am anymore. I was a teenager, 17 years old. I said, if you're going to act like a bitch, I'm going to treat you like a bitch. And I just open hand slapped him and sat down. And they kicked me out because I showed no remorse for it. And I said, I told him multiple times. He had multiple warnings. But yeah, anyway, did karate a little bit growing up. And then, I don't know, probably just listened to way too much Joe Rogan. Was like, oh, I'm going to go do jujitsu.
Okay.
So yeah, tried it out. The gym was great. And once again, my tunnel vision sets in when I try something new. And I just, you know, was training 3 times a day, just destroying my body, like slipped ribs, broken ribs, not fun.
Yeah.
So did that out there and then moved out here and I was like, all right, well, I need to find a gym. Thankfully, surprisingly, Athens, Tennessee had a jiu-jitsu gym.
Right.
Like, what are the chances?
Dude, it was the same thing for us when we moved here. You know, when it came time to move and sell and everything like that, we looked all over the country, but looking for houses, we had all these different criteria of like, had to be, you know, we didn't want to live in a big city. We wanted it, but it still 45 minutes to an hour away. We still wanted it to be semi-convenient. So we had all of these different kind of things that we wanted to make sure and hit as far as what we were looking for. But jiu-jitsu wasn't on the map as far as what I was looking for.
No.
We were prioritizing all of these kind of different things. And then when we finally got here and got settled, because we moved right in December. So like, kind of get moved and settled in. And then I'm like, oh, I fucking pull up the map. And I was like, oh shit. Okay.
Right.
It's only like 20 minutes from the house.
How crazy.
And I was so grateful, dude.
Yeah.
It was so nice.
Yeah. I mean, how far away from you from Cleveland? Is that like 45 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, you know, Cleveland's like 40 minutes for us.
There's a couple. I tried a couple gyms out there at first. I don't know why. I think it's, well, for where I live, Athens and Cleveland are relatively the same distance.
Yeah, it's kind of sixes, huh?
So I was like, and I think I was at Target one day and I saw some guy was ordering Starbucks and he's like in the rash guard and shorts. Kind of cringy now, but like, come on, dude, bring a change of clothes. Like, and I was like, hey, where do you train at? And he told me the name of the gym, checked it out. I was like, yeah, it just didn't feel right, you know? And I was like, I guess I'll keep looking.
Yeah.
And then, went to Athens one day and everyone was like, hey man, like welcome in. You know, Terry was like, you know, very welcoming. It's just very family focused.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is nice. And it reminded me of my old gym. So I was like, I guess this is where I'll train now. And then, met Ben. Didn't like him at first. I was like, this guy's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really hated Ben. Like he knows it too. And his wife knows it and my wife knows it. And it's funny now because we're just like, we see each other 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah.
You know, we're really great friends right now. He comes over, we go over there. I think a lot of it is we kind of have the same personality types where you're just like, kind of have to like hard ass motherfuckers to see if they're can go through the fire to come out the other side. And, you know, his nickname for me at first was Disappointment. No idea why, but he was like, hey, you're the disappointment. I was like all right. And he was like, hey, come to 5:30 class. I was like, that's way too early, bro. I was like, I am not doing 5:30. You're out of your fucking mind. He's like, all right, disappointment. He's just like shaming me for it. And now it's the only class I go to is the 5:30 class. And yeah, thank you, Ben. So it's been nice. And now I've 4 years.
When you think about jiu-jitsu, because it's always this progression, right? You're a blue belt and you've been doing it long enough. Do you feel like you've gotten to the point where you have, I don't want to say feel like comfortable and confident, because you definitely are and you do, but there's plateaus in jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have reached the next plateau, or do you feel it coming, or do you feel like you just crossed over one?
I think I've just crossed over one.
Okay.
You know, rolling with you a lot was like kind of being more fluid, you know, and yeah, I always kind of do the same. There's one direction I like to drive in.
Yeah.
And it was like, switch it up. So that's what I've been trying to do. Also, I like smothering people and like muffling people. I'm a big guy, you know, and I use my weight and I like to just make people miserable on the bottom. And now I'm like, all right, what else can I do from here? So there's a couple new moves that like I'm trying to work on. I saw a nice little like from mount, like a triangle, using that little weave behind the head tree trunk thing that you showed me.
Okay.
So I haven't found anyone to use it on yet, but I just like to learn some new things.
Yeah.
Now I'm just like Instagram reel trying moves. Probably not the best way to learn it, but you know.
Do you feel like it's going to be, because I mean, I think once you get to blue belt, it's definitely the case, but do you feel like it's something that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life to some extent?
Yeah.
It's always something that you want to have.
Yeah. God willing, as long as I don't get seriously injured.
Yeah.
You know, because that's always a risk, is blowing out a knee or tearing something and just never being the same again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good workout. It's a good exercise and just a good group of people every morning that building a nice community. So I don't think I actually have any friends here that don't do
jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
Like that's my core group.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll probably be doing it. I'd like to get a black belt. And obviously I don't care how long it takes. Like I could be 80 years old when I get it. That's fine. You know, like I've told my wife, my daughter will get a blue belt before she's 18. You don't have to do it after that, but like, even if you get it at like 16, that's totally fine. But you're going to get a blue belt because I want you to be able to properly defend yourself and like know some sort of defense.
Yeah.
I think it's just what's right to be a father is to instill those values and those tactics, I guess, to your children. So it'll be a rule. And my wife's like, yeah, that's fine. It's like, she doesn't have to go to college or do it. I'd be cool with that. There's like an NCAA, but like for jiu-jitsu.
That would be awesome.
I
might get there one day.
Is that NCAA or no?
I don't know, dude.
You're not a sports guy, are you?
No,
neither am
not
I.
at all.
We can skip through this then.
We could fix
sports ball, you
right?
know? Yeah.
The foosball.
Yeah. Racing I like Formula One. That's about it.
Yeah.
Racing's the only thing. But other than that, sports is not my thing. Like this means nothing to me.
I know. I do my best when Ben gets into football talk. I'm like, yeah, football.
Yeah.
It's the thing.
How many goals did they score?
Right.
You know? Just kind of pick fun at it. But yeah. Never played just like football or nothing like that. So Little League baseball
I was big in baseball growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to be a catcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
You're too big.
Whatever. That's a good big backstop. Catchers are big guys.
Are they?
Yeah.
I don't know sports. I would assume they're small because aren't they just kneeling down the whole time? Those knees.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, dude, is there anything else that you thought that you wanted to talk about, bring up, mention?
When are you going to be coming to the 5:30 class?
I'll come to the 5:30 class when it's at 8:30. I can make an 8:30 jiu-jitsu class, but I'm not making 5:30.
You hear that, Ben? Craig is adding an 8:30 jiu-jitsu class. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah, it's early, man, but it's good.
Like, if my sleep schedule ever allows for it, then I'll come to it. Because
you can make your own sleep schedule, though.
I can make my own sleep schedule. Exactly. Like, that's the point.
That's the problem. Yeah.
I get to make my own sleep schedule.
Yeah, it works for me. 4:30 up, workout, work, be home by 5. So it's nice. Fortunately, I can't do any evening classes anymore, which is, but.
Is it just because of work or?
I like to see my wife.
Yeah.
And I like to see my child, and I'm not there in the morning when my daughter wakes up. So I'd at least like to be there at nighttime. Who knows? Next year when she turns 3, I think that's when you can put kids in jiu-jitsu, right? 3?
I don't know.
3 or 4?
Yeah.
She'll be going.
Yeah.
So maybe then I'll be like Joe and just training jiu-jitsu 8 days a week, 8 times a week. Craziness. But yeah, well, it's been fun.
It's been really nice, dude. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
It's been really fun.
Although you did say you didn't have coffee, but I did notice there was some instant espresso on your countertop.
Oh, that's an empty can. Yeah.
I thought I had a gotcha moment for a second.
No, dude, we're over a month now of no caffeine, no coffee.
So the tea is caffeine free?
Yeah.
So no black tea has caffeine, right?
No caffeine in the tea. Just completely, cut it out and
just raw dog in life.
I love it.
Yeah.
I really, really do. I think it's been a massive benefit.
What have you noticed that's been better?
We talked about it a few weeks back, and Ben was giving me shit because it's like all the things at that point in time were like negative things where it was like, I don't really feel great. I'm lethargic. It fucked up my shit schedule. So but all of those things. But now it's like I don't feel as anxious all day long. I'm able to not necessarily control, but I don't feel like I have as much of the racing thoughts and pressure and feeling like I got to do these things. So things feel like they've calmed down a lot more. I'm not having that 2 p.m. kind of drop where I get really tired and need to take a nap or something like that. Yeah. That's gone away. So I do feel more focused and more clear. And it also just feels really nice not to need it's 100% just a stimulant. It's just something that, do you know what I mean? I have been addicted to since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to not have that in my life anymore. And so I feel more kind of in control of my body and in control of things.
Yeah.
So I think it's been a massive benefit.
My daughter's learned about coffee. We'll give her herbal tea at night and she's like, tea. She loves it. But now in the morning, I'll have my cup of coffee. She goes, coffee. And my wife yesterday sends me a message. She goes, the child drank my coffee.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like a latte. So it's just straight double shot of espresso with milk. And my daughter down the whole thing. And I'm like, oh Lord. Well, there's worse things out there for her to be taken down. So caffeine's not the best, but not the worst.
Yeah. Cause cause Steph and I cut it out. And after a week or two, I was thinking about it because originally it was just coffee, right? I don't drink coffee anymore and I'm cutting out coffee. But then I started to think about it's not just a coffee addiction I had, it's caffeine. And then I really looked at how long I had been consuming caffeine. And it's since I was a fucking kid.
Yeah.
We were drinking soda way back in the day when I was 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old. So I had been on caffeine all of my life essentially. And when I saw it from that lens, it was oh, wow, that's definitely something that I wanted to get off of. And I do think that there's still some more, because it was such a long standing thing. I think that it's going to be I'm giving myself 90 days of just curiosity to see what shifts and changes happen with my body.
So you don't know if it's a permanent thing yet or not?
No, it's a permanent thing.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. I'm not going to be.
What day are you on right now?
I don't keep track of it. I just know that I don't drink it anymore.
Months?
Yeah, I mean, it was right before April. It was the week before April.
Okay.
And so it's been over a month.
No more toothpicks either, huh?
No, I still got my toothpicks.
Oh, okay.
But those are hit and miss.
Yeah.
Still got them. I got to order some more. I realized I was running low on my toothpicks, but yeah, the caffeine thing, like I do think that my gut is going through this whole new, I feel like my gut biome is shifting and changing.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that I joked with Ben about, where it was like, oh, great. So you quit caffeine and now like, I don't shit regularly and I'm like, I get nauseous easier. Like all of these things were happening, but that's really mellowing out. And I think it's just because like all those receptors in my body and all the like adrenals and all those different things that were functioning and using caffeine for 40 plus years have to now adjust and change and go back to some sort of like homeostasis point where they don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see what that process looks like.
It's going to be a difficult one, probably.
Well, I think I'm over the hump of difficultness with it. I think now it's just, like I said, I'm giving myself 90 days of curiosity to just see how the body changes and see what I notice. And it might not necessarily all be connected to caffeine.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's a big factor.
So strictly herbal tea, huh?
Yeah. And I've been enjoying tea. Steph's been a big fan of tea for a really, really long time. And she's always like, do you want tea? I'm like, I don't want to fucking drink tea. Yeah. I don't want to drink tea, but
my wife does the same thing at night. She's like, cup of tea. And at first I was like, no.
Yeah. I'm a tea connoisseur now. I'm buying it.
How
I'm
big
it out.
into the tea game are you? Are you doing like the Japanese pots and like the loose leaf?
Not yet.
No?
Steph's all loose leaf and she's got all sorts of different stuff and she'll mix and match her own stuff. I'm just finding, the bags that look good. Yeah. The flavors that I like.
I've been doing the coffee roasting, like roasting my own coffee.
Yeah, dude. I never went that far, but I got real deep down, like, pour overs and French presses.
I have the Chemex.
All sorts of different.
The Chemex pour over. It's pretty nice. The roasting is a little difficult because I don't know if you've ever looked at like home roasting machines.
No, are they crazy?
Bro, it's like $2,800 for like a mini home drum roaster.
Wow.
And then after that, it's like $400 for like just a standing coffee roaster.
So what are you doing to roast it then?
In the oven.
Oh, okay.
Like 500 degrees. The inconsistencies, though, in the roasts are not fun. Mm-hmm. But also, it's way cheaper.
Yeah.
Like, all the coffee at the store is, like, way over-roasted. So it's what they call, like, a French roast or a Vienna roast. And it's just burnt to shit. Mm-hmm. Like, when you have all those oils out on the outside, that coffee's no bueno.
Yeah.
So I order from a place. I pay, like, a subscription. It's, like, $50 twice a month, and I get 8 pounds of coffee. So it's like $6 a pound for like not locally, but like or ethically sourced, like fair trade coffee from like all over the world. Like I got coffee from like Ethiopia, like Iraq. I think I've had coffee from India. Like,
and it's not roasted yet?
No, they're green beans.
Nice.
So that's another process that I'll probably get into later on in my life. Because there's a whole thing with like coffee, like how they get the bean is like fermentation.
Yeah.
And there's like dry fermentation, washed fermentation, and I don't know anything about it, but it's fun to do.
Supposedly all the coffee that we're drinking too, like if you're buying it in the stores and stuff, is just packed full of mold.
Interesting.
And so I think that that's another factor too that I'm going to benefit from is
I don't know about that.
Right. Who knows?
Well, because the thing is,
I'm not a meteorologist.
Well, unless your packaging is just really piss poor.
I think it's in the production process.
But you're roasting it. So it's roasted at such a high heat that there really shouldn't be any mold whatsoever. At least that's my understanding, because when I use it in beer, most of the time when a beer's finished, everyone's like, anything you add in after, make sure it's sanitized. But coffee beans, it's like, it's roasted at 500 degrees. It's pretty sterile.
Yeah, it must be in the packaging process and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's why I do it myself. You can do it in an a popcorn popper.
Oh, okay.
So like small, like 3-4 ounces at a time. So that's my next.
I bet it's delicious.
Upgrade. It really is, man. Yeah. I mean, I've had people who are like, I don't like coffee. It's too bitter. It's too acidic. And I'm like, it's because you've had shit coffee.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple batches of coffee I've done where I'm like really proud of it. I used to do it on my walk on my stovetop.
Okay.
And just like keep moving them around. And it's just like a nice, mellow, like cup of joe. Mm-hmm. Like there's no astringency. There's no bitterness. A couple times like you smell it and it's like, whoa, like it smells exactly what the descriptor says it smells like, which 99% of the time it never happens. But, you know, on the off occasion, you hit a really good roast and it's like, damn. And then the next day you like make a fresh cup of coffee and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then it's gone. You're like, damn, I can't do it anymore. So, yeah, I'm proud of you for your tea.
Yeah, I'm proud of you for your, I'm jealous. I'm like, maybe one day I'll...
Caffeine and nicotine, my shits are perfect, dude. It's, I got the combo.
The magic sauce.
Yeah,
there. It
man.
really is. I really miss the nicotine and the cup of coffee in the morning.
It's like
going
if
out
anyone
and
ever has
smoking.
constipation, I'm like, here's a cigarette and a cup of coffee.
That's all you need,
Yeah,
dude. It takes care of everything.
That really, it does. So it's been fun.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Michael.
you. Thank you for having me.
Everybody go subscribe to Brave Men Dare wherever you can find podcasts. Go follow us on social media everywhere, including YouTube. Leave us a comment and a review. That helps. And then we've got a couple of sponsors for the podcast. So if you're into the podcast and you want to support the podcast and get some stuff, feel free to go reach out to those sponsors. The promo code's always going to be BRAVE with those. Go check it out and save yourself some money. And thank you very much, everybody. Have a beautiful, wonderful day.
Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Brave Men Dare. If you haven't yet, take a moment and subscribe to our channel, click that little notification bell, and check out some of these other clips. Last but not least, we'd really appreciate it if you sent this podcast to somebody else. Share it with a friend, share it with a buddy, and don't hesitate to reach out. The conversations that we have on the podcast are meant to inspire you, but also we want to hear what it brings up for you. Whether you share it in the comment, send us an email, or call us up. But thanks for being here, and we'll see you on the next episode.